This is a staff and security stock and cash security update. So we're answering questions about security and restricted areas to safes and to the workshop and to the accounts rooms. They've all got signs on the doors saying restricted entry, and so permission to enter these restricted areas is a bestowed privilege, not a right, and it's bestowed with management. Management bestows the right, and before that, new staff or those that have not been given the right must stay out of or only enter these restricted areas when they are invited. For example, when they knock and are let in, if the area is unoccupied, then they must not enter. On jewellery, trying on jewellery is not permitted unless sales staff want to wear it to model it. In that case, and as always, adequate dress, hair and makeup standards must be upheld, in the sense that one rinse hair colour without different coloured roots growing out, manicured nails, pressed and ironed clothing, clean clothing obviously, shine shoes and proper makeup are essential. And this is our general standard and management must enforce it. But be prepared. The best time that we can get on top of this is the initial interview and appointment of new staff. How they turn up for an interview will determine how they're going to turn up looking like for work. The authorised gatekeeper who looks after the staff must diligently keep a staff jewellery loan book of jewellery worn and modelled, in which the item is listed and returned to the gatekeeper at the end of the day. The item must be selected when the authorised manager is available to sign the item in and sign the item out when it's returned to the same manager at the end of the day. The salesperson can decide what to wear when they're in their sales presentation. They can be looking at that stock with that in mind, but they must not be found in the safe looking through the stock determining what they would like to wear for the day. They can do that as they can make that decision as they're showing the stock for sale. If the stock is damaged or lost, then that must be immediately reported to the gatekeeper, and in the case of damaged stock, a job order must be immediately raised. But there must be no outstanding jewellery at the end of the day in the staff jewellery loan book. If the jewellery is lost or damaged, then that must be duly noted in the book, of course. Empty jewellery trays must be signed out by the staff member, the gatekeeper responsible for the tray count, and we must adhere to the stock reconciliation, the tray count reconciliation and the job tracking as recorded in the Master Training Manual. I'd like to address door security. The ability to identify a security threat by waiting until the bell is rung before speaking to the visitor, enabling time to see what they look like, what they're carrying, what accent they have. For example, if they have an Australian accent and a Middle Eastern appearance, with a thick black beard and male and under 40 and carrying a tote bag that could hold a sawn-off shotgun, then that person must be considered more carefully and let in with less haste than an elderly American lady who's obviously a tourist. Common sense prevails, but if in doubt, call management and do not be in a hurry to let visitors in if unsure, as haste in such circumstances defeats the purpose altogether of having security. That's why reception needs to be continuously manned in order to allow time to properly identify visitors and allow them non-threatening visitors in, while restricting the entry of those presenting a possible threat. Rushing to the reception after the bell has been rung 2 or 3 times and letting people in haste is a security breach. And these rules are to avoid the trauma and the time required with police, psychologists, that a hold-up produces, and in lost hours, psychological stress disorders, workers' compensation claims, and that quite apart from the very real risk of death or injury, hold-ups have been enough to close many jewellery businesses down, and many, if not most, have an element of inside involvement or just carelessness of staff talking to strangers outside work time about in-house procedures, allowing criminals to suss out and case the joint before a hold-up, even without having been into the place for a visit. We should all remember that the police once stopped a druggie or drug dealer in DY who had a sawn-off rifle, and written instructions on how to avoid, how to hold up Australian apple cutters and how to escape through the fastest possible routes, all of which they discovered in the boot of his car when they were searching it for drugs. The police were good enough to inform us, and staff need to know, we need to remember that the risks are there, and we should not talk to dodgy outsiders. Of course, we need to be mature enough to be able to recognise dodgy. Security is your responsibility now that you're working in a large direct manufacturing jewellery retail company, dealing in hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars worth of stock. You will be respectfully asked to adhere to these security policies and procedures, and failing to adhere to the policy will result in disciplinary action, and severe breaches may result in dismissal. If you believe that any part of this policy interferes with your ability to do your job, then please address your concerns with management and do not take it upon yourself to change security procedures without addressing them with senior management.